it's been a really interesting beginning for 2021. Apparently, gold is having its worst first quarter in 40 years, and yet you have Wells Fargo calling for $2,200 gold this year, at the exact same time. And I think that is because a lot of people are recognizing that pullback, as retracted and as deep as it was, is something that's coming to an end here. And they're expecting precious metals to start moving back the other direction. One of the reasons why I like to be interviewed here at Miles Franklin is I think you have a very intelligent customer base that you work with, and in part because you guys do a lot of good work at informing them. But I bet a lot of them are also Austrian economic theorists or that type of thing, and they understand the big picture when it comes to gold. And of course, that big picture I agree with as well, and that's the fact that you just can't print money into oblivion and not have that take a very serious effect on something that's real, which of course is gold and silver in this case. And so in the big picture, I really do see this as a pullback. I view it kind of like a bow. The harder it pulls back, the harder it's going to go. I'm not the great prediction of that, but if you want technical details and that type of thing, I think a guest that you had on just a couple of weeks ago, Ronald Peter Stofferle, is the expert in that field. I really enjoyed that video. If any of you haven't seen that one, go back, watch it. Of course, he's one of the co-authors of probably the best gold report in the industry, In Gold We Trust, by Incrementum AG, and we look forward to the new report coming out in just a couple of months. But Ronnie has just recently mentioned the fact that he said, I think the quote was, we're at the beginning or the dawn of a new golden decade. And so he's really seeing this as the tide's coming in. There was a weight ratio of about 50 to 1. It looks like the bottom's in for gold. And so while I might not be the expert, I can look to the experts like Newmont or this other whole list of companies that are here. Like I say, they think that the bottom's in. And that's always a good indicator for me and for your people that buy from Miles Franklin, that now's a good time to get gold because it's probably going to be going up from here. And again, I can't call any specific number or date. We might go down from here, but I think overall the bottom is in, and now's a great time to acquire physical metal. And then if you are interested in the exploration or mining phase of it, then look at that as well. And I think the first place is what gold has always done, and that is a hedge against inflation, or it's your insurance policy is really what it is. So I think that really needs to be in place first, and make sure that you can retain the value that you have in your investments. And there's a lot of, going back to Austrian economic theory again, there's reason to be concerned, obviously, not only with United States, but in the country that I live in, Canada and Europe, and really across the world, when it comes to instability within marketplaces and governments and what they're doing and so forth. So I think gold is that reassurance there. It is interesting, Elijah. My wife was just reading a book going back to Poland when Russia owned half of it and Germany owned half of it, and this was a Jew living in Poland. And my wife wanted to read me this part because it's the main character in the book. He would hide gold down along the river at nighttime to be able to feed his family. And he said, the worst circumstances in the world, and here I am, I'm a Jew, kind of the worst, situation for them. And yet he says, I can always buy food for my family and take care of them because I have gold. So that's kind of a specific example of why anyone would want to ever have gold and silver. And at this time, I think it's just a good time to buy as far as your price, and also just the instability in the marketplace. As far as making money or becoming profitable and that type of thing, that's where you start to have foresight into the actual gold market itself. And we've talked about this before, how the ounces in the ground are drying up. They're being produced far faster than they're being discovered. And especially when it comes to big discoveries and that type of thing. And so when you're investing in a producer or an exploration company, that type of thing, it's really more so for a return. And going back to the Schechtmans, that's why they invested in American Creek, a number of years ago. It's turned out really well for them so far. I think they had really good insight, and it'll actually be a lot better in the future as well when we start discussing why in terms of American Creek specifically. But they are different roles. One is to actually, as an investment, to have it go up and to gain more wealth. In fact, David actually said it best, I think. So as we all know, he's someone who acquires physical metals, and he said his goal with American Creek was he has a price in mind that he thinks it's going to go to because he sees the vision of how big this could be. And he said, eventually I'm going to take that and then buy more physical with it. So he's covering both sides, and it's just not a bad strategy to do. Just an absolutely fantastic resource calculation, a maiden one, so the first one. Before I get into that, though, I should mention that Treaty Creek is a joint venture. And so the operator and owns 60% of the project is Tudor Gold. And then American Creek and Teton Resources have a 20% fully carried interest until a production notice is given. And so it's been Tudor Gold that's been working on this. In the last 2 years, they've had just a fantastic geologist named Ken Conkin. And I'd love to get him on here at some point with you. But he has had a ton of success. He just finished putting the Brucejack mine, or was a key element in putting the Brucejack mine by Pretium into production just south of us. And we're part of this big system with Pretium and with Seabridge and Treaty Creek. And so our initial resource calculation was 19.4 million ounces gold equivalent measured and indicated, and another 7.9 million ounces gold equivalent of inferred. So a total of about 27.3 million ounces. That's one of the largest gold deposits that's actually been found in decades, and it's getting hard to find those types of deposits. So we're really thrilled about that. And one of the really key things, Elijah, about it is that it's open in all directions. So what that means is that we can kind of keep drilling in any direction, including at depth, and it just keeps going. And so we really don't know how big this is. That's an incredible number to begin with, but it could be much bigger than this. The geophysics is showing that potential to do so. And so we think we're just getting going on this with that kind of number for initial resource calculation.